I've always been of the mindset that if I really, really learn something, I'll still know more than the person hiring me at that moment because I'm really dedicated and focused on that. And so I kind of started there where I was like, I might not know a lot more, but I do know more.
Hey, welcome to 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. We're a father-son leadership podcast where we talk with other lifelong learners about making an impact and solving big problems. And yes, folks, this is really me, not an AI, not a bot.
Oh, come on. They could fake that. Come on.
They can. Although I have seen a fake video of one of my hunting buddies getting riding an elk off into the sunset. And that did not happen at elk camp. I can tell you that. Yeah, boy. Yeah.
I'll say this again. I know I've said this every time we joke about AI, but it's like we have 400 some odd episodes out there. If I fed this into the right thing, we could probably take a week off.
Yeah, there you go. That's you know what? Maybe we'll do that one time just to see.
Oh yeah, might as well.
We'll have Bigfoot come in and do an interview with Bigfoot, and but I like being real. Most of the time.
Wait, I was going to ask you before you segue. I'm sorry, I had to ask because now you got me thinking. The Bigfoot's a funny joke, but so we feed it into something. Whose autobiography are we feeding into it as a dream guest, Dad? I'll ask you that one. That's actually a decent question.
Does it have to be a real person?
Yeah, let's say like an autobiography, historical figure, someone like that.
Well, shoot. Then for you and I, it'd be Shackleton.
Ooh, that's a good one. All right, there we go, because that is the most popular episode of the show, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's the answer.
Yeah,
no debate on that
one. Because he'd probably stump us on.
Oh, yeah.
So,
all right, well, go back to your segue. Sorry about that.
Oh, shoot, I lost the whole daggum segue now at this point because I'm thinking about shipwrecks in the Arctic. Or the Antarctic, sorry, wrong.
Well, here we go. Natalia, who would you, if you, let's say a fourth person on this show, your show, anything like that, who's your pick? Historical?
Oh my gosh. I would say, I would really, not from a good perspective, but because my family's from Russia, I'd be really interested in talking to Rasputin. He's a nut. But
that's interesting.
Curious. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ooh. That would scare me though.
Yeah.
in that AI sort of way we were talking about in the green room, where AI influencing people, and that dude
Rasputin would yeah. Might be too much charisma or weirdness to bring back. I don't know.
Definitely, but very interesting.
Oh yeah, that would be fascinating.
Yeah, I'll watch that. I'm not going to participate because I want to be able to like mute it. Well, golly, and it must be the weather. It's the weather, because we're all three in different parts of the country, and we're all three actually getting some fall weather. So maybe we're all just having a little bit of an adjustment. And speaking of adjustments, can you help me adjust the books? Maybe adjust them in a better way. Natalia, I mean, I
not talking about the bookshelf behind you.
Yeah.
I don't mean those books. You know what I mean? Wink, wink.
Yeah. I'm careful when I say we fix the books, because we don't fix them, we correct them.
Well, you do have a Russian background. I mean, we were going there. No, but you are 100% on the up and up, and doing some wonderful things with your business, and you started in the breadcrumb category. How did you go from the nug, with the spreadsheet and the pencil and the, that sort of thing, to, all right, now this is a business? How'd you make that shift?
I think it just happened almost, I can't say it's naturally, like I pushed and pushed to get more and more clients. And what happened was, because I was doing all the sales in the beginning, there was a common thread over and over again of okay, so I do need someone to do my bookkeeping for me, which is what I was doing. I started off with basically just bookkeeping, but everybody was asking, okay, so now that these financials are correct, I actually don't know how to read them or how to analyze them to improve my situation. So that was a common thread over and over and over again. And I started with my first client, yes, was January 2019. And in January 2021, 2 years later, I started rolling out the fractional CFO analysis advisory services that we do a lot of now.
That's a big shift, though, for you in a mental state. I mean, that's to use the Army terminology. That's like jumping from private, machine gunner maybe to battalion commander, and doing it very quickly. How did you make that mental shift? Because bookkeeping's all in the past, CFO is all in the future, right?
Yes, I think there are a couple of things. I started always reading the financials so I could see, like, as I was doing the bookkeeping myself, I would look back and see how were the financials affected? Like what would happen? What would happen on the balance sheets? The balance sheet is the one that's really hard to read for most people. Profit and loss is pretty, money in, money out. That's your profit. But it gets really convoluted when there's a lot of other issues going on or a lot of other things. So how did I get there? I kind of just jumped in. I figured there's a lot of resources out there to learn. And I've always been of the mindset that if I really, really learn something, I'll still know more than the person hiring me at that moment because I'm really dedicated and focused on that. And so I kind of started there where I was like, I might not know a lot more, but I do know more. And so was it a fantastic service when we first started? It helped a lot of people. We actually do have people still from 2021. It's actually really rare that someone leaves a client advisory services type of deal because we become very close. But they are so much more improved and the depth of knowledge and the skill set is so much more now. So I would say to anybody who's wanting to jump into something, sometimes you have to jump in and that's what gives you the improvement over time and quickly.
Yeah, I'm sure the scale was such a big difference of that. I want to kind of zoom in because, Dad, to your question, I was thinking a lot in the like prediction side of it. How you're saying, it's like going from looking backwards to looking forwards in a lot of ways. I'm curious, in your opinion, Natalia, how much when you look at like predictions and forecasting, is it essentially like we're so bad at making predictions and it's just because we layer emotion on it? Is that what makes that transition for you so much easier? Is because you're like, it's the same as looking backwards. It's no emotion. It's just numbers. And as long as you keep things in that kind of a lane, it's that much safer. Like, is that really the mistake us entrepreneurs are making?
I think so. For me, I love projections and looking forward. It gives us an opportunity to see if we're trending, even if it's minutely over time. If you're going in the wrong direction in a very gradual way, you don't know you're going in the wrong direction. So if you forecast that out, you can actually see that in 6 months. So you know that you're not headed in the right direction. So I do love looking at things forward. But yes, I think that because it's numbers and it's Excel spreadsheets and it's graphs and it's charts, it's not emotional. It's just data. So you don't have to be emotional about it. You could. I've seen people get emotional. I've had people cry. I cry. But it's like when you give them all of the information, it becomes non-emotional. It just becomes data with action steps, and that actually is really, really helpful.
How do you, to kind of connect the dots on that also then, how do you help them in that planning process when you are looking at the forecasting? Because there is the sad, oh my God, this is terrible type emotions that you're working with there. There's also the, we're going to make so much money. Look at this. It's going to go, woo, and everything's great. Like, oh my gosh, by Christmas, here we go. And like all this stuff. It's like, okay, how do you help keep them not just in that lane, because that's one piece of it, but then that kind of gives you almost like the stereotypical accountant, like you can't do anything. That fire is part of, the fuel for the business. How do you kind of direct that energy without, shackling it too much?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Part of the entire being a fractional CFO and any kind of coach, because it's a type of coaching, is to hold people accountable. So we meet every single month, we check in, and also to help them refocus back on the stuff that we need to do, because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's a matter of like, you might have to terminate an employee. That's really hard. So it's refocusing them back to what is going to have the biggest impact on that next step that we need them to do. And that's all through discussions too. Like, we just don't, look at it or the numbers and decide. Yeah, we look at the numbers and we're like, we can pinpoint that there's an issue here. And then we talk through it because they know what's going on in their business. They just don't know what the impact is. They just have a feeling about it, right? Like those emotions. And we can see in the numbers that something isn't right. And then we show them all of the data. We help them make the decisions, and then we hold them to that decision. And look, sometimes, they're like, your payroll's over, you're really bloated. That's a very common problem. The payroll's bloated. And I had two brothers that were that owned a logistics company, and we told them that, and they said, we have a fantastic team. We really don't want to get rid of anybody. So they took our information and they went back to their team and they showed their team all of the data, and everybody had agreed, including the owners, to reduce their salaries for at least 6 months until they improved their situation. So that was actually just a really creative way to take the information and run with it.
Oh, great example of like financial leadership, I guess you'd call it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and because it just makes me think of have you had to fire a client where you've laid out those sort of things and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. Have you had to go through that?
I have had to tell a client when we meet every single month, and they keep telling me, yeah, we're going to move forward. Yeah, we're going to do this. Yeah, and nothing happens. At some point, it gets really uncomfortable. And I'm like, I don't know what you're paying for. Like, if you're not going to take the advice and move forward, then I don't know if this is going to be valuable for you going forward. And a lot of times they come to their own conclusion. So it doesn't make sense if you don't want to improve your situation, if you don't want to scale and build. It's like hiring a personal trainer and then not doing the exercise, right? So like, if you're not going to do it, then you need to be really honest with yourself.
Yeah, that's a realization, because I'm sure what they were thinking was, well, all I got to do is hire this fractional CFO. I mean, that'll make it all better. And they don't realize they got to do the steps and the actions to actually make it better. Yes.
And like I mentioned, it could be, entrepreneurship is hard. Leadership is hard. We have to keep growing. We have to keep becoming better. We have to become more aware. We have to do things constantly that we're uncomfortable with. So like it's hard, but you have the support of someone who's showing you data, and that's actually really helpful to move forward.
I keep coming back to, it's like, as we talk about like the different mistakes that people make, the idea of it's like this, the people, I go to the behavioral economics idea of, it's like you have the humans and then you have like the econs, and the econs can make the perfect decisions based on the numbers and all this stuff. But you're working with all these humans over here who go, come on, I think we could just do this. And, always making those different mistakes there. I would love to like hear some of the examples of like what that like bad math, or like the other term that comes to mind is like the mental accounting, where it's like, we're doing the numbers up here, not on the spreadsheet, all that kind of stuff. How do you see that like manifest in the business so that maybe people can start to notice that these things are happening a little bit earlier?
Yeah, I think, so can you repeat that question actually?
Yeah, just of like, what are some examples of like what that bad math is, of that like, mental accounting and things that, mistakes that people make like that?
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest mistakes is they become really, really busy. Everybody, or they, even if they have a team, everybody feels like they're overwhelmed and they're really busy. So they keep hiring. Well, there are a couple problems with making a decision like that. Problem number one is, do you have, is everybody within scope, right? Did you scope out the work? Did you price it correctly? Is everybody able to understand like what that scope of work is, and is the pricing commensurate with what you do with the value that you're bringing? Do you have the right people in place? Are they really efficient? And do you have like certain clients that are or customers, clients that are asking for a way more than what you had originally agreed on. And no one's doing it, I don't think, on purpose. People just assume a lot of the times that everything's included. So you have to communicate the scope really well. But yeah, before you're like, we're really, really overly busy, look at your bottom line and your cash. And if you're like, I can't afford to hire someone, then there's something else wrong. It's not because you're busy. There's something else to improve there. So that's bad math, right? It's like, I just need to hire someone because we're really busy. That's not a good way to make a decision.
Yeah, sorry that I was running down that rabbit hole, and I was like, that's interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I want to shift gears because we joke about this at Tribe and Purpose all the time, in the phrase of "heal thyself, doctor." So now you're no longer just direct bill, for lack of a better way of putting it, the person doing it. You're running the business also.
Yes.
And what's that mind shift like when you've got to do it, hold the mirror up sort of thing?
Yes. So I realized maybe it was about a year or so ago when I started reading a lot of leadership books, because I'm like, the business is going to get stuck and not move forward according to where I'm stuck as the leader. So I started reading a lot of leadership books, and what I found was having a very solid vision, mission, and core values, like all those statements and the core values, and really aligning the entire team and aligning yourself to those. So I was just reading the book this morning from Brene Brown, Strong Ground. I think it's one of her newest books. And she writes about like leadership that's like a strong leadership and leadership that's kind of forced. And the forced leadership will talk about their core values and their vision and mission, but they won't actually live it. And as a leader, you have to actually live it. So it's been being an entrepreneur and a business owner has been the biggest self-help journey that I've been on.
Because you got to actually write that stuff down and share it with your team, right?
Yes.
You can't just talk about it.
You can't just talk about it. You have to live it, and you have to exude it, and you have to show by example. So that's not always easy.
Yeah, I love that. On the leadership side of things, what do you think about like we mentioned the financial leadership aspect? To me, it almost comes down to a translation problem a little bit. Of it's like we all can understand the numbers. I think if you break them down a lot, most of the folks are like, okay, I see what you're talking about here. But then it's a problem of translating that into whatever I'm working on over here. Making the widgets, whatever it is, right? How do you? What are some tips maybe, I guess, on translating those financials into things that people can actually understand? I'm almost thinking buzzwords for leaders to use, basically. Hopefully beyond buzzwords, but
we look at a couple of things. Every industry is everybody's like, do you work in my industry? Well, we do. We work in all of your industries because we really understand the numbers, and we do understand that some industries are very, very different. So, for instance, pharmaceuticals, a pharmaceutical company, a pharmacy. We have a client that has 4 locations. He's got tens of millions coming in, and then probably, about 85% of that goes right back out for cost of goods sold. So that's a different conversation of what to look at. So now we're looking at gross profit. And can the gross profit sustain the rest of the business, all of the operations, plus profit, plus any credit card debt or any loans or any vehicles, plus taxes that you have to pay at the end of the day. So there's a lot more to consider when you're looking at the numbers than just the numbers on the sheet. A service-based business is going to be really different. They're not going to have probably a really big overhead. They're not really going to have cost of goods sold. So their numbers and those metrics are going to be really, really different. So yeah, you can look at your financials, but you really have to understand what they're telling you. And that's the one thing that I've noticed is when I look at different financials, for me, I can almost see it like a plumbing in a household. Where is it getting a little slow? Where is it completely stuck? Where is it flooding? And we kind of start looking at it in that way.
That example makes me think of the idea of selective storytelling with it. And I'm curious if you have any tips for people to not necessarily I don't mean see if they're literally their business is stealing from them or somebody in the business is stealing from them, but more so even just they're telling a story that's kind of piecing out the information and, being really selective with it. Because you can manipulate numbers all sorts of different ways. How do you tell you're getting the right story from somebody?
Yeah, I think we have to be really honest with ourselves. You cannot live with a victim mentality. I've had a couple of business owners that I've seen, they kind of have the victim mentality, I can't hire anyone good, or I can't get any leads. And that's not that you can't, and saying, I've tried everything. Well, maybe you didn't try it correctly or in the right way at the right time. So I can tell a story, because I could have fallen into that as well. I can tell a story of myself. And I was very frustrated. And it was funny because my fiance was like, well, when you figure it out, it'll be a great case study, which almost I wanted to strangle him when he said that. But
that sucks. It is so true.
I like him.
But it's true. I had hired an agency to run ads for me. Ads can get very expensive very quickly. And
we might know a thing or two about that.
Yes. So I had built a business. I was the only salesperson. It's been past the time to hire another salesperson. I hire a salesperson. I start up ads. I hire an agency, and nothing's coming in. It's just gobbledygook, right? So the agency keeps telling me they're tweaking things. I had to keep, recording new scripts, putting out new ads.
Wait. Are you telling the story of Tribe and Purpose in the last 120 days?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This lasted a while. So 6 months in, I was like, okay, I don't think you guys are able to help me. We got to part ways. So I find another agency. Same thing. They rewrite everything. They're like, oh yeah, they kind of poo-pooed the other agency. They're like, we're going to fix everything. I stayed with them for about 6 weeks. I got a little smarter, faster, and then I dumped them also. And then my fiance's son said, I think that I have a way for you. He just started his own marketing agency. And he was learning all these different steps. So he's like, I'm going to set you up and let's see what happens. And I ran all the scripts, and he set me up. And within 2 days, we turned on the campaign on a Sunday. By Tuesday, I was getting people booked on the calendar, legit people. Now, 9 months had gone by, and I had spent $250,000 to figure out this problem. And with nothing, and I could have given up, but the problem was, if you give up, you won't ever figure it out. If you understand your cash flow and you understand your profit, and I was getting nervous, I'll be honest. I was like, I don't know when this is going to get fixed. This is costing a lot of money. I'm taking huge risks here. But if you don't figure out the lead generation and for it to become more of a machine, your business is not really as sellable as an asset. And your revenue is not predictable. And your hiring is not predictable, and nothing becomes predictable. So I knew that I needed to figure out that piece, and it was extremely frustrating, extremely expensive, and scary. And I could have at any point given up and been like, it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a damn hard problem to solve.
It is.
And all joking aside, we are literally walking that same path right now, with one less zero on it, but it's still.
But I think there's an interesting piece there, because this is such a tricky piece of the psychology, going back to the whole the human versus econ thing I was talking about earlier, which is, if you look at a business, and this is kind of what we do with predictions when every one of us writes a business plan, and you go, I can sell this many, and then I'll sell this many, and it keeps going like that, and then I'll figure out the lead gen, and I'll figure that out, and then Natalia, sorry, Natalia. Once I figure that out, then that's just a money machine, and I could just go, and then so that's worth, at least $10 million right there. So we could keep spending while we try to figure out this problem, and that is a dangerous place to be, because you could spend that $250,000, you could spend whatever it is. what is your, learned lesson that you apply to that? Because I think a lot of people get stuck in that spot where like, this could be so insanely valuable. The business could do this, or I could just keep burning money for 5 years and nothing happens. Like that's kind of the name of the game with entrepreneurship. How do you balance that? Yeah.
Yeah, I was getting to the point that if it wasn't going to work, I was actually starting to engage in other lead generation activities, which as an owner, that's really hard because like this is, it's a multi-million-dollar company. I've got 15 employees. I still do my own payroll, my own AP, my own AR, and plus I run a lot of the CFO meetings and I'm doing the sales. So I was like, well, I'm going to start networking because that's what I used to do. And then I'm going to find someone to help me with LinkedIn messaging. And so I started putting other things into place also, things that were less expensive to offset that. So networking is time consuming, but it's basically free, right? Mm-hmm. Did it work? Not really, because I didn't even have to. I made, I think, 2 webinars and 1 presentation, 1 physical presentation. And I didn't actually even close anyone because I think that you need to build momentum for those things as well. But then the ads started working. So I was like, phew, but I do probably want to get back to at least some of those other things. Like webinars are a great way for lead generation if people can do that. So it's just, I started pivoting right when I was like, 9 months in, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this because it could be a 5-year problem. So maybe I just take a break from it. I know that Meta has changed a lot of things. Then maybe I just take a break from it, but I still need to find leads somewhere. I was even contacting people to, find more referral partners. And so I had already branched out. Then you really have to watch your numbers when you do something like that. Like I watch my numbers like a hawk because I know how to do that. If you're doing something like that, I recommend like someone to help you with it. Because at any point I was like, am I going to have enough money to file and pay taxes and then to keep my entire team, and I still need to get new clients. So it was all still a matter of I had to keep getting new clients while I was spending this. So it was like breaking even basically.
Yeah. Well, and that's the interesting thing about running ads. It is. I mean, it's a gamble until it works. It literally is because you're sitting at the
makes it feel like
table.
a sunk cost. But it's really just, I was thinking it's like, no, gambling is a better way to put it. Because I think we get to like the sunk cost fallacy thing. If it's like, no, but I have to hit $250,000. It's like, no, it wasn't $250,000 that got you. It was the last 500. And that's a very different way of looking at it. To your point, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, when you get it to work, you can definitely grow and offset that. So then you have another problem. So if you fix your lead generation, the next problem is, can you close them? That's a sales problem. And then the next problem after that, it's like a direct line, is an onboarding problem.
Oh yeah. I woke up in cold sweats when we first started going down the ad campaign, and that same sort of way, going, oh shit, what if 10 people sign up this week? Crap, what's our onboarding process? How do we have that? And then
you call me, Camden, what if we get 10 people? It's like, well, I got 10 slots in the calendar. Okay, what if you close 10 people? Oh shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the I think the interesting thing, to flip it back to the leader, because that's what the leaders do. That's what leadership is about. Is you put things in place, you get people going, and then you step back and say, well, what's the second and third order effects? Mm-hmm. What did you do when that ad took off? Because you were doing the sales calls.
Yes, and I have a salesperson also, so we both do the sales calls. I don't feel comfortable enough to let go of sales because I know I'm the owner. It's a lot easier for the owner to close, right? Yeah, so I shouldn't be in sales at this point. I still am because we still need to close because I need to offset all that money that I just spent. And I close very consistently. So now we have a closing process with the other salesperson where he's not closing yet as consistently as we want him to be. So I'm still in sales. So like we're training and working on that piece as well. it's just like as the owner, you're just constantly taking risks. You don't want to stop taking risks. That was a risk. I knew that was a risk. I could have just relaxed and let things flow. But when you stop taking risks, that's when the business usually stops growing. When you don't take calculated risks. And then, as the owner, you also you see the vision, and part of a vision is the growth. And the growth is really important because that gives the opportunity to our employees to grow up in the firm, to have more opportunities, to have better, we have actually pretty amazing benefits at this point, predictable revenue. Also, it helps you to get better clients, because if you get clients that that aren't a good fit, that aren't aligned with your values, you're not afraid to let those go because you have new ones coming in.
Yeah. Well, and let's stay in the sales space. When you're desperate, as much as you try not to be, the person on the other end of the line, they smell it.
Yes.
We all smell it. How'd you overcome that? Because you were in a little bit of that desperation mode. How did you do that?
Yeah, it's funny because every once in a while I'm like, I lost my mojo. And it just changes. Maybe I veer off the script too much. So I'll have to kind of go back to the script, because I've come to the conclusion, my new saying is, sales is not intuitive. It is psychological. There's a difference. It's really counterintuitive in some ways. So you have to sometimes go back to the written script and be like, what did I miss? What didn't I ask? What didn't I say to increase that urgency, or have them really feel, feel like they're ready to make a change. Because the only thing sales is to get the other person ready to make a change. That's really all that it is. So when I struggle with it, I go back to the script. I used to do all kinds of other little things, like smack my hands together, like, I'm ready, before a call.
Do a little pump up thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Light candles to bring light into my household. Anything that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're laughing about that, folks, but you know what?
I do the Ric Flair woos before I go coach rugby sometimes.
Yeah,
just get me psyched up. Just woo! Whatever you need.
There's definitely something to be said about standing large, your arms and legs out like a starfish, and that really builds, you take up space, and I think that physiologically your testosterone increases, so there's all kinds of things that you can do.
Oh, there's power in the power pose. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, all the stuff I've done in all the years, and all the situations. Let me tell you, there's a lot to be said for that power pose, folks. You put the Superman power pose. If you don't know what I mean, golly, go on YouTube and type in power pose, and it'll show up. Superman power pose. Put your fists on your hips and put your feet shoulder width apart, and look up at the sky at about a 45-degree angle. Damn, I feel powerful just describing it. So what's another secret? What did you have? Some smell good candles? You said candles. How'd that go?
So I would light a candle because I was I was thinking about bringing light and abundance and heat and just things that are great, because fire is it could be very dangerous and scary, but it's also the most incredible resource that we have. We cook with it. We can make things with it. So I would light a candle in my kitchen, and then go downstairs and do all my sales calls in my basement office for a long time. But it was a matter also of just not giving up, the consistency and reviewing what I'm doing, which is really hard. No one wants to review their own calls.
Oh, I don't even like watching my own videos that I have fun doing.
Yeah, but reviewing, seeing what you missed, where you could have said something a little bit differently, or paused, or maybe showed a little bit more empathy. I feel a lot of empathy when I'm on a sales call, I don't know if I'm always showing it because, like I'm an accountant and I'm asking very sterile questions. Yeah.
There's one aspect of like the leadership, Dad, that we've talked about a bunch, which is like leaders as the filter for the team, the filter for information. Like there's a lot of talk of like transparency, but it's like really good leaders can also hide some of that information, not for bad reasons, but just because it's like, no, this will mess you up. Like and actually I got a decent little story we've told in the podcast before for that. But I'm curious from your perspective, Natalia. How do you balance that transparency and protecting them when it comes to things like the numbers? I think you're a great person for that. The story I alluded to, I've told this 100+ times on the podcast, is one of my startups of working with my buddy's CTO. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like kind of you're talking about the ads and all that. I'm like, ooh, if we don't book 20 more tickets by Friday, we're done. Like we're in that moment. And guess who had trouble working that whole week for some reason? My partner, because he was freaking out about the fact that the lights were going to turn off. And so it's like, you have to be able to balance that. How do you draw those lines? What's your process for, showing people the truth and, making them understand the why behind what's going on without, scaring the hell out of them?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I did mention I'm working on ads. I'm trying to fix lead generation. I didn't tell them a lot of specifics or details. I think they would be upset to learn I spent $250,000 because everybody's like, well, why didn't you just, raise my salary? Why can't you spend that on
I could have solved it.
Yeah. And so that sounds like a tremendous amount of money to the average person. For business, it's kind of a drop in the bucket of figuring things out. And so I'm very careful about what I say. I did reduce my salary. I am on salary because I want to pay actually into taxes. That's most of the reason why I'm on the salary. And I increase it sometimes so I pay more into taxes. And I reduced it significantly because I was getting worried. I'm like, it would really suck if I have to let someone go because I can't figure out lead generation. And we also had a little bit more churn than we normally do. So we were actually I felt like we were going backwards in more than one way for the first time in 6 years. So like we're 6 years in, I'm thinking pretty confident we're going to have an amazing year. and then all of my things that I took a risk on and I bet on, a lot of it flopped for like the first 9 months. And then it started turning around.
Yeah, that's tough. And, something else you kind of, you mentioned it real briefly just a few minutes ago was that abundance and, kind of back to the attitude. How do you help yourself, but really your client, because you're looking at the numbers, and how do you help them see abundance versus scarcity in their business?
That's another really good point. So I find patterns of the most successful business owners. And that pattern is taking action, even if it's the wrong action. In the time you take the wrong action, someone else is still thinking about it. You can correct it and figure out the correct action. So taking action quickly with some data is helpful, and mindset. Of having a mindset of abundance, because when you, it's really interesting. Like we exude what we feel and we don't even know it. So like if you have that scarcity mindset when you're on a sales call, like you had mentioned earlier, people sniff that out. No one wants to buy from someone who feels desperate because they start feeling like they can't trust you. There's a trust factor when you're talking to someone, and when you are desperate, you're not providing them the feeling that you're bringing them trust and value. It's more that it's for yourself, that you have to do something for yourself. And honestly, sales is like a very giving thing. So it is a matter of like finding if someone's, I actually was just talking to someone yesterday, brand new client, hasn't been able to make payroll a couple of times. And she said, should I close my business? And I said, no, everything's fixable. Like, absolutely not. Like, we can fix things in a week or two. And we met last week, and then we met again this week, and we have a plan that she's actually implementing today with her team. And that one tweak that we're making is actually going to help her break even within 2 weeks. So now we're going to try to keep tweaking things. And it's always like, all these different levers, right? We're going to keep tweaking it just a little bit at a time. And I showed her on the projections that I built out, just this little tiny change over time. In 4 months, you're going to be 15% profitable. And she's been unprofitable. So like that is, you can show someone the light at the end of the tunnel. And she's like, I'm tired of being overly kind and being taken advantage of. And I said, well, now you have data behind it, so you can make decisions, and we're going to support you.
Yeah, I'm curious because you mentioned it once earlier about, still doing your own books. And then honestly, even just with that last story, the energy has been good the whole episode. Don't get me wrong, but I felt the energy even jump up a little bit there as you start nerding out a little bit about those tweaks. How are you staying focused, or what is your process for like following that genius? Because I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but it sure seems that is definitely the passion. That's the thing you love doing the most. Mm-hmm. Like, are you going to fire yourself as president or as CEO and just go full CFO? Like, you just want to be with the books, you want to get away from the business, even though it's yours? Like, how do you balance that too? Because I think that's a tricky thing for people. It's like, I had this thing that got me here, but also I got to go run a business and do all these things over here.
Yeah, it's been hard to let go of things. I enjoy all of it. I enjoy the bookkeeping piece. The reason I do my own bookkeeping is because when I hired someone outside of my firm, and they weren't doing a good enough job. So I was like,
that fear got confirmed real quick, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I'm like, and I'm very particular. I'm like, it has to be done this way because this is what I want to see. And so if they can't do that, then they can't stay. But I'm very particular about what I want to see because I know what I want to see. Like I don't really do bookkeeping for clients anymore. I used to love that. I have a team that does that. I don't do the onboarding anymore. I have a team that does that. I'm going to get out of sales soon. That's one of my loves also. And then the CFO meetings just light me up. Like I'm just like on fire when I go on all the CFO meetings. But we can't grow and keep delivering and keep helping people if I'm in the way. So I do keep finding more things that I love. So like as I transition out, I am starting to love just like, for me, I feel like as the CEO, I am the culture builder of like reminding everybody, what is it that we do, aligning them back with our vision and mission, aligning them back with our core values. Like I show up to at least weekly to our staff meetings so that they see me, they know me. Sometimes, I think the other day we played a game. We asked them like 2 questions, like what is it that we do? And we had them all write on the whiteboard on Zoom. And then how do we do that? Like, how do we, how do we create that? And it was really interesting to see all of everybody's responses. And it kind of like realigns everybody. So now my mission is really to just keep having the vision, moving us forward, and then making sure that we're all aligned with that vision. And that's kind of fun too.
I love that.
So do you have like a kind of a clairvoyant or autistic, as a good friend of mine, Goody, AKA Numbers, when you look at spreadsheets, do you kind of see, what was that movie? A Beautiful Mind. Are you kind of like A Beautiful Mind when you look at spreadsheets?
I think I think I see numbers differently than other people do. I see patterns and not really colors, but I do see numbers really differently. Like for me, numbers are really creative. People are probably like, what? It's scientific and it's dry and it's data, and it's not. It's just an ends to a means, and for me, it's a very creative part. And I don't. I know that I always used to laugh that my daughter was diagnosed ADD, and I was like, oh, that's from your father for sure. But I think I'm actually the one that has it. And I think it's my superpower.
Yeah.
When you can look at numbers and see patterns, that's huge. When did you start to, I don't know, realize that you had that gift? Or
can I rephrase the question, because I think this is going to be interesting. so numbers, in math and all that, what did it take the business side of it to give it like a story behind the numbers? Or were you loving the multiplication tables in like elementary school?
I did love numbers, like, and when I had to enter in manually all these numbers at work. I remember once I had someone, I was in my 20s, I was like 24 at a job, and someone said, "You're really fast at that. Did anybody ever tell you?" I'm like, "No, I always thought it was kind of dumb, actually." So they told me.
You're like, I'm a loser because I can do these numbers really good, right?
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I started doing bookkeeping, I could tell who had a scarcity mindset, who had an abundant mindset, and how they were feeling about their business. I could start picking out feelings of the business owner while doing their bookkeeping, because your spending habits, so spending is habitual and behavioral. So you can start seeing, and it's things that you wouldn't think of, right? So a scarcity mindset isn't necessarily someone who is holding back and not spending anything, although it can be that. But sometimes it's overspending also, or hiding things. So like I would see business owners sometimes hide things in their business. Like, I have it's a really bad story. I was on a Zoom with a client and we were reviewing his bookkeeping, and there was like, I was like, I don't know what this is, like the bank detail for this. So I share my screen without even thinking, and I Google it, and it was a sex toy store.
I guess that falls under entertainment. I don't.
Yeah. So I was like, that's not deductible.
Wait, so I'm sorry, I lost track. Is that one scarcity or abundance?
I would say that one's almost scarcity. I had a feeling that the relationship at home wasn't doing that well, and he was hiding things. And
there we go.
Yeah. So anytime you're hiding anything, that's really scarcity.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I worked with a company, not quite that crazy, but there were some gray area things that were business expenses in that organization, let's just say.
Yeah. And I think that's scarcity too. Like when someone tells me, I had a junk hauler as a client, and he would be like, you don't see all the revenue. I kind of pocket it. And I'm like, well, the problem is there, my friend, that you actually don't have any clarity in your business at all, because you're hiding things. So if you're putting in too much that doesn't belong there, or if you're not adding in all of your revenue, you actually have no clue what's happening. And so what are you saving? 30 cents on the dollar for taxes? It's not worth it. If you get audited, it's not worth it. And you can't grow well because you don't know what you're doing. And then what kind of example and leader are you showing yourself as? So yep. I think it's a downward spiral to do it incorrectly.
Yeah. Well, and, I had another thing that I was going to say was my what I learned, but I hadn't thought about scarcity in that way of how people do that. The under the table, pay cash, the business expense on things that you just go, yeah, that fifth wheel. I don't see how that fifth wheel is a business expense, and because we can't take that fifth wheel to where the work's being done. It's kind of on the other side of the ocean.
And there's the opposite. There's the abundance. So when I have trouble, when I feel like I'm losing my mojo in sales, for instance, I do the opposite of what scarcity would do. I start to donate more money to different organizations. So we donate every single month. But when I'm really feeling like I need a little help and I need the universe to give me a little bit of love, I put more love back into the universe to do that. And I can't say that I can see it work instantly, but I really believe that it works.
Well, because that is abundance when you give it away, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm laughing so much. I remember playing a game of Monopoly in college with a bunch of friends and winning it. And I just kept everything I would win, I would just throw it into free parking. Like, it's coming back. It's coming back. It's coming back. And then, you know what? Who hit the free parking, right?
Awesome. Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
I think for me, it was, we talk about like financials and financial leadership. I think the idea of like translation there was like a really key word for me, of like understanding not just, hey, here are the numbers, but like, how can I explain the numbers? Not just explain what they mean, but also explain them in a way that can filter that information properly for you to be able to do your job. I think that's a really interesting piece for me.
Natalia, how about you? What'd you learn?
I think it's interesting that you are also having trouble with your ads and your lead generation, that this is a very common issue. And it doesn't matter like how successful you are, how long you've been in business, like these things just happen. And these are normal parts of being in business, and you just keep moving forward.
So true. So true. Well, it's proof of what you said earlier about, what industries do you help? Well, you know what? The problem sets, the numbers are the same across, right? So, Natalia, how do folks find you, learn more about what y'all got going on?
Yes, we have a page specific to your audience, so they can recognize the podcast and you guys. So it's going to be under www.zacharinconsulting.com/CO for Camden Otis.
Awesome.
And you'll actually find 2 giveaways there. One is 7 ways to find money in your business now. And the second one is the ultimate checklist for financial success. And then there's a link to our calendar to get on a financial consultation if you so wish.
Very cool. And you're not tied to the Maryland area. You can do it anywhere, right?
Any U.S. based business.
Awesome. All right. Well, Natalia, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great
I'm sorry.
education.
The nerd in me, is that just a difference of being CFO versus accounting? Because once you said that, I was like, what the hell are you talking about, Dad? If I was like, no, that's actually a really interesting question, because you have to be certified in states, but that's just the difference there for me, right?
So accounting is kind of like the all-encompassing. A lot of people think accounting is tax, could be bookkeeping, but all of that is more compliance-based. A CFO is, like we were talking about, it's more future-looking projections, forecast, budget, growth, and scaling. You don't have to be certified. You don't have to be a CPA. A CPA is really someone that can go and they have a higher technical knowledge, and then they can present in court on your behalf. I'm not a CPA. I do have CPAs, but I'm not. And I don't think you need to be certified. So that's the dangerous thing, is that you actually don't know what you're getting sometimes, because there's not really, any certification for it.
Ooh, well, I'll change what I learned. All right.
Yeah. I mean, you can get a degree in it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go outro, Dad. Sorry about
that. Now I got to get back in the outro flow. Thank you so much, Natalia, for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was really great chatting with you.
Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all for listening to today's episode of 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. And a special thanks to our guest, Natalia Zacharin, for joining us today. Remember, you can watch full episodes of the show on YouTube at 10X Your Team. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to pass it along to other lifelong learners in your tribes that they can enjoy it too. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. As always, that full archive of episodes available at www.10xyourteam.net. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next time.